Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the second U.S. trial update of Michael Sang Correa. I know right now it's almost 11 in the Gambia. Over here it's just actually 5 o'clock, almost 5 o'clock here at Denver, Colorado. But I said, you know what, the people have been demanding it. I've got a few phone calls. People talking to me about asking me when is the update coming. So we're going to talk to you about the first 3 victims of the Michael Correa trial. For those of you just tuning in, I'm Yusuf Taylor, the editor for Askanwi Media. The landmark trial of non-U.S. citizen Michael Sang Correa completed its 4th day yesterday, 10th April 2025 in Denver, Colorado. This marks the first time a non-U.S. citizen is being charged with torture for acts committed outside the country. In the 3rd universal jurisdiction case related to the Gambia's transitional justice process. You can watch our first video for a review of days 1 and part of day 2, sorry. This video, which we are doing now, covers continues from the first video, and it covers the 2nd and 3rd day. We will be trying to go through them as quickly as possible. There is so much to go through that I'm just having to bring this in segments. Would be so long and defeat the purpose. But you can read our articles if you go on www.askanwi.com. Detailed articles. You can go to other media outlets as well as the Solo Sending Foundation, and you can follow their publications. They are also doing detailed coverage of it. The whole thing started with the 2nd day. It featured powerful opening statements from both the prosecution and the defense. They enhanced their presentations. They used projections of images to engage the audience. Following the opening statements, the first expert witness, which was Professor Maggie Dwyer, was cross-examined by both sides. The day also saw the chilling testimony of the first torture witness, Aliu Job, which foreshadowed the harrowing accounts to come. Now, so the first witness points out Michael Correa in court. We're going to talk about Aliu Job. Aliu Job, who worked at the Accountant General's office at the time, he testified that he had been contacted by then CDS Ndur Cham, to whom he sent money. Although he tried to dissuade Cham from attempting a coup, he actually tried to dissuade him from attempting a coup. Job was implicated and arrested soon after the failed 2006 coup. He identified Michael Correa as one of the individuals who participated in torture sessions at the National Intelligence Agency headquarters in Banjul, NIA. And Correa, Job, he described how Correa, along with Sana Manjang, Rambo and others known as the Junglers, tortured him. Yes, they warned him, that is Job, the Junglers warned him that if he returned, he would regret being born. That was one of the things that was said in court. They handcuffed Job behind his back, forced him to kneel, and had a plastic bag placed over his head. Job was later forced to make a confession, paraded on national TV to apologize to the president. This is all what he has been through, and this confession was later used to sentence him to 9 years and 4 months in prison, with 4 years served in the security wing. As a result of the torture, he suffered from back pain and poor eyesight, leading to 2 operations, including one on his eye. Job is currently working at the Gambia National Petroleum Company, and he's going about his life. He came and he pointed out Michael Correa. That is the guy. Not in court, you can't point with your hand, but you point by describing what is he wearing, you know, his dreadlock, his glasses, his suit, black suit. This was all highlighted by the first torture witness who took to the stand. Now, Yaya Dabo was the second one who came. He took to the stand and he gave a very harrowing testimony of torture. Former Lieutenant Colonel Yaya Dabo of the Gambia Armed Forces shared his ordeal at the hands of the Junglers and confirmed his intent to support the failed Ndur Cham coup. Now, Dabo, he detailed how the Junglers were recruited from the army and operated outside the rules of the Gambia Armed Forces. Now, after the failed coup, Dabo was arrested and he was taken to Mile 2 security wing. Like Job, He was transferred between there and the NIA headquarters, yes, where he was brutally tortured. One of the junglers, they warned him, cooperate and save your skin from torture. This is what Dabo was describing in his testimony. Now, Dabo was subjected to the same treatment, handcuffed behind his back, made to kneel in a circle, and had a plastic bag placed over his head. However, he endured 2 additional particularly cruel acts. He identified Michael Correa as one of the main perpetrators who burned a plastic bag and let the molten plastic drip into his left thigh. Graphic photos were then showed of his injury across. Everybody could see it, and they tendered this into evidence. In the second act of torture, Dabo was stuffed into a sack and hoisted into the air, then dropped to the ground while the junglers laughed. Now, Dabo noted that General Bora Koli and Malik Jatta, they refused to participate in the torture and were not punished. Unlike Correa and others, he expressed disbelief that the Correa he once knew could have committed such acts. Now, this was a very worrying statement. Now, Dabo did speak for somebody who is already passed away, that is Pierre Mendy. Dabo testified that, like him, Pierre Mendy was also tortured. Mendy's cell was located near his, and he often saw him. They saw when Mendy was being dragged to and from torture sessions. One occasion, Mendy returned with blood gushing from his head and struggled to walk to his bathroom, to the toilet to get a bath. Dabo described Mendy's body as severely swollen. Although the defense raised an objection during the testimony, it was overruled by Judge Aguelo. Although the defense, like I said, Aguelo overruled them. Let's move on. After serving 9 years and 4 months, this is what he ended up serving, Dabo. He was pardoned by the president in July 27, 2015. He stayed in the Gambia for a month before fleeing to Senegal. The prosecution highlighted the ease of escaping through Gambia's porous borders, suggesting that Correa had the opportunity to flee instead of torturing his victims. So we are going to continue. The third day, we are going now, this is on the third day. The third day, Yaya Dabo continued cross-examination from the defense. Seni Bayo, a former security officer or then, most important thing is then he was a security officer. Special Agent Matthew Gibbard and Demba Dem, former National Assembly member. Day 3 began with an announcement that a juror had been injured and would be replaced for the remainder of the trial. The defense resumed its cross-examination of Yaya Dabo. They started this cross-examination actually. And Defense Attorney Jared Westbrook, that's the name of the defense attorney, he referred to Dabo's testimony before the TRRC, referencing events such as the arson attack on the independent newspaper and the April 2000 student massacre. He mentioned that. They were all noted. And he said, this is what he said, which some of you will pay attention to. He said, 14 people were killed, including 6 children. That needs to be looked at one point. The defense even asked whether Lamin Wajuwara had been assassinated by the government, something which those of us from the Gambia in the audience were looking at. Dabo, he recounted a visit to congratulate then CDS Nur Cham, on his appointment. According to Dabo, Cham shockingly translated, Dinen Nukan Ndeam, sorry for the foul language, we are going to F his mother. That's what he said about Jammeh, because he wanted to get rid of Jammeh. And remember that he allegedly tried to institute a coup which failed. Now we are going to move on to Seni Bayo's testimony. We still have Seni Bayo's testimony and Special Agent Matthew Gibbard's testimony. We're going to go through those. Seni Bayo, who had served as a commander of 2 battalions, he confidently identified Correa in court as someone who had previously served under him. This is Seni Bayo. He was a commander at the time. He had 2 battalions under him, and he identified Michael Sang Correa. He was somebody who was working under him. But this is what his testimony says. He testified that Michael Correa tortured him, placing a plastic bag over his head, handcuffing him behind his back and beating him severely, together with a number of other junglers. As a result, Bayo now suffers from hand and finger injuries as well as poor eyesight. He also witnessed the torture of Pierre Mendy and Wassa Kamara. After one session, he saw Correa holding a stick in a room where both victims, that is Wassa Kamara and Pierre Mendy, were already bloodied up. This is what actually was said. Thank you. We've got a comment here from my very good colleague and court reporter, Kex. Thank you. We'll continue. Please bring the comments in. We'll continue with the updates to make sure that we give you guys all the updates which you need. Seni Bayo's testimony. He's talking about Pierre Mendy. Now, it's very important when we talk about Pierre Mendy. Pierre Mendy is one of the persons in the count who is also, they are charging him with torturing Pierre Mendy, Michael Correa. But Pierre Mendy is not alive. Now, prosecutors at the beginning had highlighted that actually Pierre Mendy is not alive, but these witnesses who are going to testify will speak on behalf of Pierre Mendy. They will highlight what Pierre Mendy has gone through. So Pierre Mendy, you will hear Pierre Mendy being talked about through other witnesses. Pierre Mendy is one of those in the counts for torture, but he is not alive and he is not here to testify. Others will speak for him. That's why you see Seni Bayo saying that he saw Michael Correa with a stick in a room with Pierre Mendy and Wassa Kamara, and they had been bloodied, beaten up, together with some of the other junglers that were there. Now, but there were other things that happened. They are also trying to highlight that even though things were very difficult for the junglers, which everybody knows was even worse for the masses who were the junglers were oppressing, some people decided that they are not going to continue. They are not going to do this torture. They are not going to carry out this. During cross-examination, Bayo discussed the Gambia Armed Forces chain of command and the junglers, their operations. He shared a story of being arrested by his former trainee, Saul Baji, who refused to torture him out of respect for their relationship. When questioned about the dictatorship's climate of fear, Bayo emphasized the need to be cautious, especially around junglers and informants, including fellow soldiers. He mentioned that one NIA operative, Bajinka, fled to Senegal, taking advantage of the porous borders. You will hear prosecutors continue to talk about the porous borders. Why? They are trying to highlight that the junglers, no matter as bad as it was, they had a chance to say, we are not going to torture, we are going to escape through the porous borders. As many of you will know, Michael Sang Correa eventually escaped in 2016 December, after Jammeh lost the elections and he knew that there was nothing else. And thank you for my colleague as well, Seni Marina, who's been reporting extensively about this case as well. Tida Sisawo, thank you so much. We're going to continue updating you. Now, we don't want these videos to be so long, so we are going to give them in series. Tomorrow I will do another one, but let's do the last witness testimony here. We are going to cover the last witness testimony for today's video, and then tomorrow we will continue with day 3 and day 4, because these things are so important. We are talking about people who are talking about the torture that they have experienced. I'm trying to do it justice by giving them all, by talking about all of them, not leaving anyone out, which is why these videos, sorry, they just cannot be like very short like the first one, when I just talked about just what happened very quickly, and that by that time, the witnesses, the testimonies about people being tortured was not coming. Now it's coming. Now it's very serious. Now we are realizing what exactly used to happen. And this is somebody who is an outsider. The next witness testimony is from Special Agent Matthew Gibbard. Special Agent Matthew Gibbard is from the Homeland Security Investigations. He was the third witness for the third day. He described how he tracked Correa from his position at the U.S. Embassy in Senegal, and this is what they did. They subpoenaed Western Union records. Gibbard obtained information about money transfers Correa had sent from the United States to his family in the Gambia. And most critically, Gibbard had interviewed Pierre Mendy, who I said has passed away, for over 2 hours in 2020. And Gibbard, in his testimony, submitted photographs of Mendy's scars into evidence. Very serious, very concerning information. So Mendy is not alive, but those who have interviewed him, those who have spoken to him, those who have experienced his brutalization have spoken for him. And there are photographs of Pierre Mendy scars that have been tendered into evidence. Certainly, you know, the defense tried to reject, tried to, you know, object to this, but it went through. And thank you so much. We're getting more comments. Siriang Marong, thank you so much. Great reporting, Flex. Thank you so much. We're trying our best. And Wally Jr., I admire everything about you. Please try to change the name of the page connected to your name. Many people think this page was Senegalese media. I know. Yes, Askanwi is a wall of name. Yeah. It's important for this history and the transitional justice of our country. Very important. No stone should be left unturned. We are going to conclude with Gibbard's testimony. Now, in his efforts to locate Correa, like I said, Gibbard had interviewed Ibu Jaju, Tamsir Jase, and showing them a photo array of 6 individuals. When he shows them this information, they both accurately identified Correa, and their signed identifications were submitted as evidence in court. Now, we'll conclude today's update here and continue tomorrow with Demba Dem's testimony. Demba Dem was the former National Assembly member. He had a testimony which was also very harrowing, and further coverage of the 4th day of the trial. This is what we're going to do. Now, there's some things that are so different that I observe in the U.S. You know, justice system. We've already talked about the jury and the judge. So, when objections are raised, you will hear oftentimes the defense or the jury, they will say confinement. Now, what confinement means is that they want to have a special tete-a-tete. There are some information that they don't want to divulge, but they want to have a conversation with the judge and to talk sometimes with the defense. They are all there together. They are talking to the judge, and then the judge will then make a ruling whether they will overrule or whether they will allow the line of questioning to continue. Sometimes it's often like that. So those are some of the things that, you know, came out of it. And when that happens, you will see the defense will wear a headset. The prosecutor, they will wear a headset. When they wear the headset, then the judge will also wear a headset. We are all inside the courtroom, but we cannot even hear in their conversation. And then what you end up happening, once they wear the headset and they're having a conversation, private conversation, headset conversation between the judge, the prosecutor, and the defense. These three, they are having a conversation, they have a headset. You will hear a what they call white noise. Shh. It's the speaker, audio speaker, will be playing a sound that people will not be able to hear even what they are talking about. This is using technology in a way that I have never seen in courts. And it's, of course, you know, you could probably say a novel thing that they are doing. That means the prosecutor, the defense, and the judge can have a conversation sitting where they are without anybody around them knowing what they are saying. Then oftentimes when they have this conversation, then the judge will then rule to say, yes, I will allow the line of questioning to go through or not. So this kind of happen every now and then. And now I can tell you that in day 3 and day 4, there's less of that. There's less objections coming through. And we're going to conclude it today. I didn't want it to be too long, like I would have talked about Demba Dem and then the 4th day. But today, just to give you an idea, things are moving very fast. It seems like this trial might conclude on time. Now, you can't tell why. It may not, or it may, because I'll give you guys the next steps. The prosecutor team have about 2 more witnesses to cross-examine on Monday. Now, trial didn't happen today, Friday, because things are moving fast enough. On Monday, these 2, they will come most likely in the morning, or morning and afternoon, and then the defense may have who they may cross-examine. And when the defense comes with who they may cross-examine, that might also happen on the same Monday. It may be 1, it may be 2. Regardless, on Tuesday, this may continue, and then if it continues on Tuesday, you will see that eventually when the defense concludes cross-examining their own witness that they want to call, it's possible they may not have any, it's possible they may have two, they said. Then the closing statements will take place from the prosecutor and the defense. Then after the closing statement, if it happens on Tuesday, then what would end up happening, the judge will give out their instructions to the jury. The jury will receive their instructions. Then the jury will go off to deliberate. The jury will go off to deliberate in a special place. Then after they come, they will deliver the verdict. So that may happen on Wednesday. Tuesday is when the jury, end of Tuesday or Wednesday is when the jury may go off to deliberate. Jury may take some time. And then when they take their time, they come back. Then the verdict may be delivered. We never know. Hopefully before Friday, the verdict is delivered and sentencing can take place. And then we'll be here to see everything. And then we leave on Saturday. Very important question from one of the people here. Thank you so much. Let me just go through the questions, the statements, the comments. Thank you so much, hardworking man. We try. Thank you for your time and the accuracy of the proceedings. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for all the comments. Thanks for the narrative. Hope this case motivates our government in the Gambia to take necessary steps in executing TRRC recommendations. I hope so. So far, the international community has got 3. They've got Bailo, Germany, Usman Sonko in Switzerland, and now, well, this one I would say has gotten, currently, is Michael Correa. A very important question, how is Correa's demeanor in court, hearing all these testimonies? Correa has not shown any remorse. When I speak to some of the other people, and when we speak to victims who have given testimony after, they feel that Correa has not showed any remorse. Now, I've also observed Correa, and his body language and demeanor to some is even a little bit threatening. Correa will look at you in the eye. Me, at one point, he looked at me in the eye, and I looked at him back. Yes. And others have said the same thing. At one point on day 4, it's like I saw Correa was having, his demeanor was very disrespectful because of, there was a guy, Ibu Jaju, who had testified. Ibu Jaju was a cook, cook in the State House. And he was observing because he is there in the State House as a cook, as a waiter. And he was even serving the likes of Michael Correa. When he was testifying about Michael Correa, you could see how Correa, hanga sun deka, sun Gambia, ak hebate, legi dina ñew si wolof. Hebate bu nekk si sun deka. Mun ko xol kom, yang ko gis. Mun ko xol kom ki cook bi ni ki lan la am pour wax fi ni. Hebate bobu nonu, almost mun don ré. Man si man lolu la gis de. Wow, ñeneen ñoo mëna wax. Others can explain, but that's what I saw. It seemed like he was almost smirking at Ibu Jaju, who was a cook, and he was testifying about what he was observing. So we're going to end it here for today's update. Sorry that it's a bit late over there for those in Gambia. For those in the US, I'm sure it's a normal time. Tomorrow we will come up with another one, which will follow from the 3rd day, continue from the 3rd day, and then we will do the 4th day. There have been 4 days of trial. Today, there has been no trial today. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Please do share our second update to the Michael Sang Correa trial here in the United States. Thank you.